there, friends. Welcome to Curlers and Conversations. I'm Krissi, missionary wife, mindset coach, miracle mom, and your go-to for all things faith, style, and savvy living. So join me and some amazing guests as we share our stories, break free from expectations, and embrace the messy, joyful truth. We're talking faith, wellness, and real-life tips to help you live your best life, all without losing your identity. So grab that cup of coffee or tea and let's start that conversation. Welcome to our first episode of Curlers and Conversations. We're coming to you from Cape Town, South Africa. And as you can see, we're not sitting in the same studio together, but we are pretending we are. Welcome to my kitchen, Lynette.
Thank you very much, Christina. It's a joy to be with you in your kitchen this morning.
Thank you. I think it's very lovely. I like what's going on back there. I haven't quite explored it yet. But maybe as we go along, we'll have other different backgrounds and we'll even might be together a couple of times, which would be really nice. But I wanted to start out with just a little bit about who we are. My name is Christina Foster and people call me Krissi for short. It's something that one of my friends started here in South Africa way back when, and it just stuck. So now I'm Krissi to a lot of my very good friends here in South Africa. I have lived here in South Africa for the last 22 years, believe it or not. I am, as you can tell, an American living here with my husband, Jim, and then we had two girls. We have two girls, but they also grew up here in South Africa, but they are now living overseas because they're grown now. They are 27. My oldest daughter is going to be 27. Can you believe it? And then my younger daughter, Elise, it's always easy to remember her birthday because she's whatever year it is. So she was born in 2000. So she's going to be 25 this year. That's in September. So she's got a little ways to go. And then, like I said, we've been here for 22 years. So this is basically my home over here. So this podcast is going to be a lot of cultural differences between an American and a South African kind of lifestyle, mindset, different things. We're going to have fun. We're going to have a lot of great conversations and hopefully be very informative, yet keep it down to earth because we're just two women friends chatting about the ways that the differences and the similarities that we have found, what brought us together and what life has taught us, actually. So that's a little bit about me. Oh, and I have a few things that I love to do. I'm a person that wears many hats. So I guess I get bored easily. I don't know. I always say my husband has ADHD, but I think I'm a close second. But I am a professional photographer. I also love interior design, making everything look amazing, but on a budget because I am also an amazing thrifter. I love to bargain hunt. So we're going to give you tips and tricks on how to do that, both here in South Africa as well as what the differences are and in America as well. I love to travel. I love planning travel and going on and exploring the world. So I'd much rather you gift me an experience than something tangible because it's just more meaningful for me. But I'm also all about health and wellness. And through this podcast, we're going to both be sharing our journeys in that regard through our health journeys and the tips and all the things that we've learned along the way that has brought us to this point in our lives. Oh, and I'm also a mindset coach. So if any of you out there would like some life coaching and mindset, I can help you in that regards as well. So that's a little bit about me. So how about you, Lynette?
Oh, thank you, Christina. What a good bio.
I know it keeps going on and on forever.
And my name is Lynette Essen. Yeah. So I'm Lynette Essen, and of course, I live in Western Cape with Christina, which is a lovely place to actually live. We have beautiful weather. I am an animal naturopath, and I'm an advocate for animals and being a voice for the voiceless. I'm very passionate about natural healing, for the animals. I've come from a background and that I've seen the damage that a lot of our medicines that we sometimes need, but also in our natural foods and our medicines, we can use how we can support our animals better and our humans as well. So I love being a health and wellness coach with that. And in that, I offer different therapies. So I communicate with animals. I'm a horse whisperer. You can nearly say, an animal counselor
You're my
because I chat.
non-psychologist is what you are.
Yes, that's right. So I chat with animals to actually see what's going on in their past, just like a counselor would in a human situation would sit and say, okay, what happened in your past? How can we heal this, what's happening to you now? And then because I'm so in the natural healing, we can do the therapy. I use aromatherapy with animals more on the emotional side. We can release emotional blocks, what's in the system, because the body keeps the score. So what's happened to us, it keeps in our body, and it happens to the animals at the same time. So communicating with them, I can see what's happened and use the aromatherapy to either release it out of the brain or release it out of the body, and then keep the essential oils and actually help that animal support their bodies into more of a calming state. I love natural eating. I love natural foods for animals and for humans. Love being outdoors. Love the ocean or the bush wherever I can. I love to be in a quiet space. And this year, God's been speaking to me very loudly to actually live a slower life and actually to stop and breathe. Because I'm a go getter, I'm always busy, but He's really come to, where are you? Are you breathing? Are you actually self-caring? So this is really something that I like to portray and to help, because everybody is so busy in what we do. So I have a lot of other things that I do. I love art. I love to be creative. I volunteer at a foster care center where foster and orphan children are. They're in lower grade school. And once a week, I go through there and I give them creative lessons to actually release some of their trauma, to help them. We always give a nice supporting message to help them in their mind mess and what's going on in their little lives that are so out of control. I love doing that. I volunteer at an animal rescue center where I help traumatized animals come in to actually see where they've come from and how to assist them get their characters and their behavior better so they are adoptable. And I was so blessed to have Christina adopt one of our big dogs, Bentley, which maybe we'll mention sometime. So yes, life is full, life is good, and it's going to be so nice sharing what life's all about with everybody.
Oh my goodness. So you wear so many hats as well. I can
Yes,
I think over here in South Africa they call it a CV. We call it a resume. If we put that side
yes,
by side, it's like choose what you want from us, because
pretty much.
I've heard it say that we're like a tree. Our mind is the
I
tree,
love that analogy. Yes.
and who we are, our person is the tree trunk, and then we have different branches. And so choose from which branch you want to pick the fruit from, and we can serve you in that way. And I love that, because so people can come to us and have a myriad of different needs. And God has given us an ability and the qualifications, and He's given us the wisdom in order to figure out which fruit of the tree that they need to hear from, and what part of us that they need and what can help them the most. But anyway, so I wanted to share a little bit about why we're starting this podcast. It's actually me starting this podcast. I asked Lynette to come join me. And the reason why I called it Curlers and Conversations, because it's a metaphor. Ironically, I don't have any curls in my hair today. I don't even have a curl in my hair, much less curlers. But what I wanted to do was open the door to a conversation, and you can just come in. You can be a fly on the wall. We would love feedback in the comment section underneath the podcast. We'll put our how you can contact us at the end of each podcast so that you can definitely give us feedback. But we would love to hear from you and have you be a part of this conversation. But come with your curlers in with a cup of coffee, sit down. You are sitting at our table, just a couple of friends sitting and having just real conversations about life and our life in general, funny facts of what life brings us, as well as our cultural differences. We're going to be talking about thrifting and bargain hunting and living a non-toxic lifestyle and hospitality, things that are different between living over here in South Africa and living in America, travel hacks and secrets and of ways to travel on a budget, interior design and making your home look beautiful, but not breaking the bank doing it. Just all kinds of different things that we do every day. We love to talk about and love to do as women. So if something that I said spurs you on or tickles your creative side or interests you at all, just come along for our conversation and sit at our table and just have a listen and then interact with us. We would love that. We would love
Very much so.
sometimes we might go live so that we can get that feedback and questions and different things straight away. But for the most part, we would love for you to comment and to give us any feedback and tell us how we're doing, because we're tough. We can take it. We want to hear, don't be mean, but we love constructive criticism and things that you want to hear more of, maybe some of the things that we didn't even think about that are topics that we could cover or questions that you have that we would love to discuss and answer for you. Of two women who grew up on opposite sides of the world but found ourselves together.
Mm.
And on that note, I'm going to let Lynette tell you her first impression, how we met, how on your
Yes.
version of how we met.
Yes. Well, I was in 2018. I was busy studying. I had studied already on zoo pharmacognosy. Now,
Wow,
that's a big word that
that's
a
a
lot of people
mouthful.
don't actually know about, but it's a method of animals self-selecting and self-choosing what their bodies need because it's in their DNA written what their bodies need. And by the way, ours too. We've just unlearned to actually listen to our bodies. So it is the zoo, it's the animal. Pharma is the medical, and the cognosy is cognitive. So cognitively, the animal knows exactly what they need. And it's a method of using herbs and tinctures and essential oils so the animals can actually choose how much they or what their bodies need. And nature's so fantastic is that the animal will also know exactly how much they need. And if it's a herb or essential oil that they actually want to take per mouth, the taste will change in the mouth to tell the animal you've had enough. You've actually had enough. So it's in that study, I was looking for a quality essential oil and I was praying about it. And I was looking on the internet about all these companies and what they're doing. And then I got to read about the founder of Young Living, Gary Young. And I said, yo, this philanthropist, I like his heart. Am I going to get a hold of someone that does Young Living essential oils in Cape Town close to me? Lo and behold, there was an advertisement on Facebook where it says Christina Foster would love to teach you all about essential oils and it's Young Living. And I thought to myself, yo, now that's the one I want to go to. And I just had this inkling in my heart, you go there. And it's really like it's the Holy Spirit that guided me there. And that evening, I was a knock on Christina's door, like her beautiful self, always so, hospitality at the tops, opened the front door and it's history. We've become great friends, walking the journey together in our ups and downs in life, in our mindsets. And Christina's been a great star, a mentor in my life, and someone I can really go to. And I've been a counselor to her animals, and we've really become great friends. And it's so nice to have a friend in God that a person can have as a soundboard and use all the essential oils. So it's through natural healing that we got to become friends.
That is so cool. It is. I remember that. I remember that day where you came and I got the RSVP to my little class. And I remember that day, usually my classes that I had with, and I invited people to my home, usually we had about 8 to 9 people. That day it was only you and one other lady. And so it was very neat to see how God brought us together that way and that he orchestrates just exactly what you need and when you need to be there. And
Perfect timing.
exactly, because I don't know that we would have, yes, I can't say that we wouldn't have, but it was really neat the way we were able to connect strongly together because it wasn't just a whole bunch of people. It was just a very small group. It was just a couple of us sitting around my kitchen counter and just talking oils and sharing our experience and sharing who we are and sharing our hearts and in just over a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or probably thieves tea at that time because
Yeah.
that's what So yeah, so it's really neat the way the Lord brought us together. I was needing someone to help me with my dogs and understanding them a little bit more, and he brought me a psychologist for that. And I always say I have a dog psychologist as one of my very best friends, but
And
it's
that time you had two cats as well. Do you
that's
remember?
that's true.
Yes.
I had a house full, I had a menagerie. So that was really cool. So yeah, we've known each other for the last, it's been like 5 years now, right? It's been
Well, since 2018, it was 18, 2018, 19, 20, 6, 7 years, 6, 7 years. Yeah.
exactly. So it's and in that time, we have even gone overseas together and we've gone places and just basically worked alongside of each other. And I think we complement each other very well. And it's a relationship that you're very strong in certain areas that I need personally. And I think vice versa. I have some things that we
Mm,
can help with each other in
very
that.
much.
I think that's very cool. So that's a little
Very.
bit about us, a little bit about why we're starting this podcast. This episode is going to be a little bit different than the upcoming ones just because we wanted to explain who we are, what our backgrounds, and give you a little bit of preemptive what you can
Who
expect
we
from that. Okay, so one of the things that I'm doing is I'm putting up a website and it'll soon be active. It's called the Bougie Missionary. And if you go on any of my socials, you'll see the Bougie Missionary, Krissi Foster. And so it was funny because a long time ago, probably, oh my goodness, way back when, probably a good 10 years now, when we were in the States, I have a very good friend who we've known each other for a long time. Our kids grew up together and everything. And because I love to bargain hunt and because I love to just find the good quality stuff out there, I love quality. I have what do you call it? A knack for going into a place and picking out the most expensive thing in the store. It's a gift.
truth.
I can
Truth
do
be told.
it. And usually it is something that you can't even buy it. It's usually it's a display item or it's a prop that the store has out there and it's not even for sale and it's but I like it. But anyway, I love all things pretty and feminine and I love to put my best foot forward. And my friend started giving me a nickname and she started introducing me as her bougie missionary friend. And at first I wasn't sure what she meant by that. But then I realized that it was a compliment and I looked up the word bougie. But before I tell you what I found and why I called myself that, what brings to mind what you think of when you hear the word bougie missionary, like when you first heard that? Because it can have so many different connotations.
It does. So I would say what it meant to me was someone being just chilled out, being themselves, and just living life and just taking everything as it comes and going with the water. And a missionary was like putting those two together is going where God flows, going where He sends me and being me and just being me. And to me, that's exactly who you are. And that's exactly what you do. In this time I know you, you've always been the same. I know exactly what you like, what you don't like, how you're going to be, not be. It's not like I've ever had to be concerned, oh my word, Christina's going to think like that, or Christina's going to be like that. I've always known you to just go and be and enjoy and happy and whatever. That's what it means to me.
You're so sweet. So it's funny because when I looked up the word bougie on the internet, you get so many different definitions, right? Some of it say it's someone who is trying to be who they're not. And that's not exactly what I want to portray. And because honestly, I feel like I want to be, with God's help, I want to be genuine. I want to be an original, but I want to be who God made me to be, and I want to put that best foot forward. But I also want to display I'm God's child and I'm a child of the King. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with having beautiful things and having an appreciation for quality and presenting yourself in a way that is very high end. Because if you're a child of a king, we're royalty. Interestingly enough, the reason why my friend called me bougie was because she always laughed at the way that I could walk into a store, even a thrift store, and I loved going to thrift stores. I'd go yard sailing and I'd go to thrift stores and I'd go to any type of store. And it's like a challenge to me. I love finding that bargain. Let's see how low I can go and get the best price. If I like something and I know it's a high end item or it's good quality, I'm going to find it for the bottom bargain price. Okay. And I know I'm not alone in this, but
Yes.
when you make that invisible list in your mind and you go, oh, you're subconsciously always having that list in your mind. I need one of those, or I would love one of those. You might not necessarily need it all. We don't need anything, but that would be nice to have that. And you start making a list in your mind, and you don't necessarily write it down. But for me, anyway, when I'm out there shopping or just out there browsing or just having fun, and I come across something and I'm like, oh, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And I find it for an unbelievable bargain because it just popped up. And whether that's on Facebook Marketplace or at a thrift store or at a yard sale or even at a regular store that's been marked down, and I go, oh my goodness, this is perfect. I've been looking for this for the longest time. And it's funny because my husband will look at me and he'll go, you've been wanting and looking for a lot of things for a long time. I'm like, no, it's not like I'm sitting there making a list. But so my friend calls me the Bougie Missionary because I love to get bougie things on a budget, or I like quality stuff. But another interesting thing to this is over the holidays, this past holidays, we had a French house sitter come over from Paris. And bougie is actually a French word. Okay. Whether it's spelled Bougie or Boujee. It doesn't matter how you spell it. It's actually a shortened word for the word bouger. Okay. And so when I asked him what bougie meant, because if you Google it, it's a slang for inner city slang and all this stuff. But I wanted to really truly know what bougie meant from a French perspective because it comes derivative from the French word. It is French. And you know what he told me? He said, this word, it means lamp. And I thought, oh my goodness, I love that. While I started, decided to call myself the Bougie Missionary because I just thought it was fun, tongue-in-cheek type thing to call myself to set me apart. It's called a lamp. And what has God called us to be but a light for people, to draw people to him. And in a world of darkness, I want to be that lamp that brings people to the Savior. And if I can put myself out there and just being the bougie missionary and being that light to people who are just looking for a light or a safe space to come out of the darkness, and I can lead them eventually to Christ. It just encompasses everything that
Very much so.
is in my heart and my purpose for not only doing this podcast, but to who I am as the Bougie Missionary. So that's the reason why I call
Love
it
it.
Bougie Missionary. Okay, so we want to end today into this podcast with top 5 things. What did we decide? Remind me.
So we decided on on the top things that surprised me when I went to the US and what surprised you when you arrived in South Africa.
Yes. Okay.
I can go first. Things that surprised me a lot is when I got there, no one understood what I said. They couldn't understand my, what do you call, my language in my English accent that I spoke with. And they said, excuse me. And the words I used was different words that I would call a boot of a car and they would call a trunk. And so that was like, we just laughed. That was quite surprised me that they weren't going to understand my type of English. And then second was water at the airport. We got free water. It was filtered water. It was so nice.
Oh, I never really thought about that.
Yeah, it was lovely.
I
Everywhere was water fountain, and you don't get that. You don't get that. And it was very nice. I enjoyed that very much. So it surprised me very much.
That they actually had water fountains to fill your water bottles with.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm a water drinker, because I use water all the time, to me, it made a difference
That's true. That's true.
instead of buying water all the time.
That's true. So my first one is the security. Okay. In America, you don't have, yeah, you have fences around the houses and different things like that. But when you go into a bank, you just walk into a bank. For instance, okay, so first of all, when we first got here, we went to go to Nedbank to create an account so that we could go in and have a South African bank account. And it was me and Jim, and our girls were very little then. I had a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. And we opened the door to the bank. And now here in South Africa, when you walk into a place that's high security, like a bank, you walk into the first door and then you find yourself in a cubicle, and you have to wait until the door behind you closes and the door in front of you to a green light, and then you can open it and go in. It regulates who's coming in and out of the bank. We had never done that before. When we were recently in the States and we walked into our Navy Federal Credit Union, and we just walked in. It was like walking into a mall. You just walk in and it's no big deal. You stand in line. Here we are, Americans, family of 4. We open the first door and we all crowd into this little cubicle. There was a security guard outside. He was dying laughing at us because you're only supposed to walk in one at a time. It will not let you go anywhere if there's 2 or more people in this cubicle. And so we're all standing in this cubicle and we're looking around, and we can't get into the bank because it's not opening, because the sensors are saying there's more than one person in here. So there's a family of 4 in this little tiny cubicle, and we're turning around and around trying to figure out how to get in the bank. And the security guard is like cracking himself up. We finally figured out that we had to walk in one by one in order for us to go into the bank. And then, of course, the security bars on the houses here. I always call my house my fortress of solitude, because you have bars on all the windows and on all the doors, or most of them, so that for security purposes. And that took a long time for me to get used to, because I first felt like I was in prison because there's bars on all the
Yeah,
windows.
very much.
But the security was definitely something to get used to, for sure. And then the second thing that was very, very interesting to me was, like you said, the different ways in which they called things. I still remember the first time we got here and somebody came up to me and told me, "I'll give you a tinkle later on." I had no idea what they were talking about. And here in South Africa, if you tell someone that you're going to give them a tinkle, it's a phone call. "I'll give you a phone call later on." And so it's funny because my husband and I were talking about that the other day, and he goes, "I haven't heard that in such a long time." But then on Sunday, someone came up to us and they actually said to my husband, "Listen, I'll give you a tinkle later on." And I said, "See, it's still talked about to this day." So yeah, different English. We use different English
Yes,
words.
very much.
Yeah,
Very.
we're still speaking English, but it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, do you have 2?
Okay, so yeah, that was what surprised me very much, is all the helpful people. We went, maybe I was just blessed in that trip that everyone was always helpful and always ready to help and serve. I found that very surprising, because I thought US guys are always angry and they're always like bowling you over and stuff like that. So that was quite a surprise.
It's funny you should say that, because I often tell people, it's like when you go back and forth to different countries and when you travel a lot, like we do, one of the things that we notice a lot is when we go to a new area, or I go into a new shop, or somebody doesn't know that I've lived here for 22 years, they think I'm on holiday because I just opened my mouth and I'm an American. I tell you what, you can use it to your advantage, because they definitely put their best foot forward for the foreigner. And I think that's also what you experienced when you went to America, was that you open your mouth and they hear that you don't have an American accent and you have a foreign accent. then they put their best foot forward and they're actually can fall over themselves trying to give you the best experience and being so
Very
kind,
much.
so accommodating, to where I would not get that going to America. I'm one of them. They don't have to do that to me. Whereas you might not experience that over here because you're South African, so they don't have to put their best forward. You're just like us or whatever. So you don't get that over here, whereas I do. And then I don't get that over in America, but you do. So it's interesting how that works.
Yes, amazing. I was very surprised at how easy it was to actually travel. You could or just pop in. It was very surprising how easily it is to actually travel.
Yeah. You
Okay,
get from one place to another. Yeah, for sure.
there's transport, there's help, public, yeah, help all the way, all the way. It was very nice.
Okay. And then also for my fourth, driving on the other side of the road. That was something that really surprised me. Okay. You didn't drive at all when we went to America.
No, you drove all the way. No, I didn't drive.
I offered you to. You wanted to talk.
I was going to look at all the scenery. I was going to look and see where everything was.
That's true. That's true. That is the advantage of being the passenger, especially
Yes.
when you haven't been someplace and you be able to look around. Whereas if you're driving, you're not as able to take in the sights as much. But yeah, one of the things that did surprise me a lot, and that I had to get used to, was the driving on the opposite side of the road. I used to say driving on the wrong side of the road. Okay. But I was corrected very quickly by my friends here in South Africa that it's not the wrong side of the road, it's the other side of the road, because it's not wrong just because it's the not exactly the way you do it in America. And I was like, oh, that's true. I have to be respectful of that. So it's the other side of the road that we are driving on over here. And one of my best tips that I always tell people when they come over and if they rent a car and they're like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can do this. I got to get my brain around driving on the opposite side of the road. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. If you find yourself in that situation, it's one of my best travel tips is always keep the middle of the road on the driver's side. If you're driving, keep the middle of the road on your side, and you never forget or never drive on the wrong side of the road when you're driving in that country. So you don't want to drive on the wrong side of the road if you're supposed to be driving on the opposite side. So to help us figure that out, because we go back and forth constantly between US and South Africa, and we're driving in both countries. So to help us remember that and help my brain remember it is to always keep the middle of the road on my side when I'm driving. So just a tip,
Definitely.
free tip.
Yes. And my last one is I was very surprised that when we went into the airport, we actually, with our trolley for our luggage, we had to pay. So that was a surprise. And because in South Africa, we don't pay for it. And it felt like wherever we went, the facility was there, but you had to pay for everything. Where in South Africa, you can still get away with this and you can make a plan there. So that was quite a surprise for me.
True, that is very true. In fact, now I will say that I can think of maybe some of the smaller airports that I've been in America where you don't have to pay for, we call it carts, and that's another thing. They call them trolleys over
Yeah,
here.
trolley. God.
They call a trolley in America is usually like on a train caboose type thing,
Yes.
like in San Francisco, the trolley, but they call them carts for at airports that you put your luggage on. They call them trolleys over here. But yeah, there's a few airports in America that I can think of, smaller airports that don't charge, but those are few and far between. Usually the major metropolitan airports, like the big ones that
I
we
can imagine.
Boston and Atlanta and
Yeah.
LA, you have to pay for, and it's expensive too. It was like five,
Yes.
$6, and now
Yeah.
it's even up to $8 for in some places for a trolley.
For one. Yeah.
Crazy. And then my fifth thing is to go along with that is how inexpensive it was to go out to eat here. We eat out more here than we do in America, just because the difference in price is like almost half. Like for approximately $12 or 250 Rand, if you convert it, both of us can eat here in South Africa, and that's with everything and including tip and everything. But in America, that'll barely get you even, which is one of my favorites, an acai bowl or a wrap.
Oh, as 'n equal. Oh, nice.
Those are so good. I know,
Yeah,
I crave those all the time. But yeah, the price of going out to eat really surprised me, the difference in doing that.
interesting. Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
So those are right now top 5 things that are first impressions of living in another country and cultural differences. And it's been awesome to have our first podcast off the charts right now and get that under wraps. So I would like to get a few more recorded and then we can post these.
Yeah.
Please subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and you'll get notified whenever we post a new episode.
I really hope this is gonna really get to the heart of the people that actually needs it, and where it flows, let it just go.
Exactly. So we're going to sign off now. We want you to stay blessed, stay bougie, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Colors and Conversations. If this episode spoke to you, let's keep the conversation going. Please subscribe, that would mean so much. Leave a review and share it with a friend who needs to hear this. Don't forget to contact me over on Instagram and Facebook at the Bougie Missionary. I can't wait to hear your thoughts. Send me a message and let's chat. See you next time.